of Worcester. Having the dual tax rate, what is the dual tax rate? What does it mean to you as a business owner?
I think the dual tax rate clearly means that the residents or residential property owners and the commercial property owners get taxed at two different rates. This is not so throughout the entire Commonwealth. There are a handful of cities and towns that were given the option whether they wanted to tax them at dual rates, at different rates, back in 1984, if you can believe. And Worcester is one of these cities that took advantage of that. What that means is every year, come mid-November after election time, our council has to decide what rate they're going to give to each of those groups. What tends to happen over time is that clearly businesses within themselves don't vote. Residents do. The council, for whatever reason, and this started many, many years ago, so it's not pointing fingers at anyone that's there right now, but we've come to the point where we tend to have this embedded into our head that lowest residential tax rate is what we want and what we need to keep our taxes low. What we've learned over time is that every time we vote for that lowest residential tax rate for the residents, the businesses get the highest tax rate. In fact, the tax rate for the commercial property owners in Worcester now is actually higher than Boston's. The problem is we're not usually competing with Boston, we're competing with surrounding towns. And surrounding towns even have as low as a third of what our commercial tax rate is here in Worcester.
So Bill, the thing is then, and that surprises me about Boston, because I would think that somebody would, the attraction was always you can come out here to Worcester and you can get, office space or locate your business less expensively. What we have now, though, of course, is a business will come, and based on what Beth just said, and say, well, boy, maybe I can use Worcester services, but I can be in Leicester. I can be in Shrewsbury. I can be right over the line in one of the adjoining communities.
Well, numbers don't lie, Hank. In 1984, when it was a single tax rate for residential and commercial, the commercial tax base was 30% of our total tax revenues. And was it 25 years? That's gone down to 15%. So we've seen it go down. 50% has gone down. The scary thing is where we're going to be 25 years from now. And you can remember back in, a lot more manufacturing, a lot more businesses were in the city. We're not saying that's the sole reason they left the city, but I think it has a lot to do with it, especially when you look at Shrewsbury and the towns surrounding us, not so much Boston, maybe the towns surrounding us. Industrial parks are probably on the borders of all around the city of Worcester, and they're selling at the lowest tax rate.
But if we, based on what you just said, if in 15, 20 years we become a bedroom community of Boston, none of us will be able to afford to live in Worcester.
Absolutely not.
I mean, instead of, people can hold the line all they want on that lowest residential tax rate, but we won't have industry, we won't have a tax base then to support us to be able to keep affordable housing.
And actually, one of the things that we've learned over time, as you probably know, long before the economic downturn, the city was having to cut city services. We've seen that happen for many years now. As businesses leave, more and more of the responsibility for picking up that tax burden is falling on the residents. So when we say lowest residential tax rate, it doesn't necessarily mean that your bill is going to stay the same, much less go down. In fact, it is going up. It continues to go up. Yes, you might have a dip here and there, but the average residential tax bill since 1992 has more than doubled.
And we're not saying this is an election, when you started, said an election year issue. We don't see this as a 1 year cycle for November. This is a long-term issue. This isn't going to happen overnight. We're not saying a year or 2 years from now that we're going to level the tax rates, but it might take 20 years. Who knows?
Well, this has been the problem in the past. It was sort of a 1-month issue. The chamber or another business group would come forward. They'd go up to the city council. The city council would be getting ready to vote for it. They'd argue their case. I saw this years ago, and I always tell this story, and I know that I've probably told it to you, Beth, and you're sick of hearing it. But I mean, I went there. As a reporter, I went through one of these entire meetings. You're sitting there for like 2.5 hours, and everybody's getting up there, and they're pleading their case why we should have this single tax rate and what we need to do. And the city councilor is sitting there, and he's not on the city council anymore, and he was a district councilor at the time, and he's nodding, And then at the end of the 2.5 hours, he gets up, pulls his speech out of his pocket, and reads why he's voting for the lowest residential tax rate. And I'm there, why did we just spend 2.5 hours? I mean, there's no debate that people have already made up their mind.
Well, this is part of the problem. First of all, with the dual tax rate, it pits one against the other. And that's not the way it should be. We're all part of one city, and we should be working together to get to a common end. That is the first and foremost thing. The second thing is, if you noticed, it's never discussed before that night that they have the vote. And that's why this year, after seeing what happened, very similar to what you're describing last November, when they went to vote for the tax rates, we saw a very similar situation in which 9 people got up and said, you know, they were business people, but they were also residents that said, look, I'm looking for a job. Something seems to be wrong in this city. Maybe we need to look at this. Went through the whole thing, same thing. One person got up and said, you know, you guys all said at election time, lowest residential, don't forget. So what we did is, a few weeks after that, we put together a petition and we said, look, let's sit down and talk about it. Let's get an ad hoc committee. Let's try and take a look at, does this make sense, and how would we get there? Nobody is looking to do this overnight. We're looking for a long-term plan, and we have a few things we've already come up with to try and get that.
Bill, hold that thought, and that's where we'll pick it up in the next segment, and we'll get into where we are right now and where you guys are going in the future for Worcester Citizens for Business. Beth, Bill, thanks for being with us. Much more straight ahead right here on Wake Up Worcester. Look good, feel good, get into shape at Worcester Fitness with 2 convenient locations, one downtown in Worcester at St. Vincent's, the other right on Grove Street. And at Worcester Fitness, you've got a terrific staff of personal trainers who will guide, support, and help their members create a customized fitness program they can be successful with. Again, go to both of their convenient locations and achieve your fitness goals for 2009. Find them online at worcesterfitness.com.
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
We're off to see the wizard.
The wonderful Wizard of Oz. Dorothy, Toto, and all their friends invite you to join them on their amazing journey from Kansas to the Emerald City. Bring the entire family to experience this beloved story live on stage.
See Dorothy and Friends at the Hanover Theater, October 16th through the 18th. Get your tickets now.
And I got a permanent just for the occasion.
DSL, ladies and gentlemen.
Charter high-speed internet. You're not just fast. You're 13 times faster than DSL.
I don't worry when my kids are online.
Dude, I have so much more fun with you.
Right?
Nobody's talking to me.
Check out Charter high-speed internet.
Oh, yeah. They're ignoring me because I'm slow and not much fun.
Switch to Charter high-speed internet, the fastest, most reliable speeds available at $29.99 a month. Call 877-959-6588.
Can I hug you?
Yes, ma'am.
You are so good.
Tell us a little bit about Laurel. Laurel's been with us almost 10 years.
It picks her adventures with her classmates and her friends in the neighborhood around the city of Worcester.
The program is targeted to preschool-age kids from age 6 months to 5 years old, so it was the same exact audience as the Wiggles audience.
If you're a Charter Communications cable customer,
then you get Charter TV3, the one and only television station serving central Massachusetts.
If you want local,
then you need Charter TV3. Switch to the competition and...
with eyes on Main Street.
And ears around the county.
live in the newsroom.
And action from the field.
right to your living room, on location, on demand, in touch, informed, and inside the region more than ever like never before. Stay connected, stick with Charter, and keep it on Charter TV3 for exclusive coverage, original programs, and the information you need.
Up and at 'em, everyone. Worcester Citizens for Business with us this morning on Wake Up Worcester, and we're talking about the dual tax rate. And Beth, you just said something interesting a moment ago. Nobody is expecting this to happen overnight.
Right.
Where is the effort right now?
What we've done since, as I mentioned, we did recommend a committee be appointed. The council did approve that back in December. Sadly, the committee, I'm not sure what happened to it, but it never did get appointed by the council or the administration. About February timeframe, we started to organize as a grassroots effort. And what we've done since that time is we've basically been educating people on the dual tax rate, the effects of it over the course of time, talking to counselors, candidates as we got closer to election time, but also working on different ideas for solving the problem. And what we see as the easiest solution is to start to build that tax base back up. And that way we can relieve some of the pressure, absolutely, from the businesses, but also to help the residents to keep their taxes down. Because the more businesses that leave and the more we keep voting the lowest residential rate, the higher their tax bills are going to get. Bill and Chris Johnson actually had worked on, they're members of our steering committee that have worked on really a phenomenal plan which goes off of some of the things that they did in Philadelphia as they tried to address some of the problems that they've had there.
Quite a bit about this. The Research Bureau asked